Guess what I'm riding again? Blood Bikes. And this is bike number 2 for Cornwall Blood Bikes. It's the start of the new year. I'm on shift for the next 8 days or so. This is a 63 plate bike, so from 2013, and currently it has about 102,000 miles on it, so it's a pretty well-worn bike, but it's really nice to ride. I've got to admit it. Yesterday I was out down in Cornwall. You can just see on the grass perhaps a little bit of the remains of a bit of snow we had on New Year's Eve, and I was out yesterday, rode all around Cornwall to all sorts of places, and did about 130 miles. And the reason I'm making this video is because I want to talk about these new tyres we've been given. Now these are Dunlop Roadsmart 3s, and the story about them is we were given them by Dunlop. A couple of emails out to Dunlop saying we're looking for some new tyres and can you help us out, because times have been a bit hard for us on all the blood bike groups since the lockdown started in March of 2020. We went from doing 280, 300 jobs a month to nearly 900 jobs a month, 24,000 miles a month on the bikes. We've got 15 bikes now, and money's getting a bit tight, so we were asking to see if we could help us out with a few tyres. So obviously tyres are a massive part of our job. Depending, because there's so many different riders, there's about 60 of us in the group at the moment in Cornwall. Different styles of riding, different types of riding, you know, and we're riding all weathers anyway, so you know we go through tyres quite quickly. So Dunlop very kindly sent us some of these Roadsmart 3s. Now I've read up on them, and it actually says that it's a premium summer tyre. Well, it looks quite good to me actually, a lot of tread in there. These have only just recently been put on, only doing a couple of thousand miles I think, and the initial reports are that people quite like them. Now you can see that there's a massive tread pattern on there. Okay, focusing on the edges there, well, obviously the whole design, if you look at this particular patch here, is to take the water and squeeze it out the side of the tyre, so there's lots of excess. My hands are filthy because I've just washed the bike, sorry. There are lots of ways of getting rid of the water out the sides of the tyre, and obviously there's a big contact patch in the middle of the tyre here, which is what we're talking about when we're riding. You know, we need a lot of rubber on the ground. So they look pretty cool actually, and all the reviews I've had so far of them, I've seen of them on sort of various websites, have said that they're good for mileage. Well, that's really important for us as a blood bike group, because we need lots of mileage out of our tyres. And somebody had put a quote on saying they got 9,000 miles out of their tyres, which is pretty good. I mean, you know, he said he wasn't riding gently, he was a spirited rider, so that's pretty good. But the pattern, the tread pattern here is very complicated. Look, there's got this big patch here, which I just explained on the back, for squirting water out the sides. Big, long, deep grooves at the centre of the tyre, and it's quite impressive actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out for a little ride on them when I next get a job, and I'll have a chat about them, and we'll go from there, shall we? Okay, it didn't take long for me to get called out on a job, so now I get to review the Dunlop Roadsmart 3s out on the road and in the rain, because it's just started raining. So I read a few reviews on this tyre. Some people said it took a long time to warm up and it was a bit skittish. Yesterday when I was riding, I found that you can see all the crud on the road at the moment, all the mud and everything because of where we live. I found it's sort of skitted a little bit on one little bit of the road, so we'll see how we get on. But I actually like these tyres. After spending 130 miles on them yesterday, they are quite a nice tyre. They do inspire a lot of confidence in the dry, and in the wet I must admit they have performed as you would expect them to do. Now the big thing we're after as a blood bike group is safety and mileage, because tyres are a massive expense for any blood bike group, and we had a spate in the summer of 10 flats in 1 week. Now we don't repair the tyres, it's a policy the organisation has. The tyre can be repaired to get it back to a workshop where they'll fit a new tyre to it, so that's quite a big wedge of money we're spending on tyres. And some, depending on who's riding the bike, how far you actually get out of a tyre, you know. I've heard reports of 9,000 miles out of a set of these tyres, which is pretty good. I'd be interested in that as a guide. And other people have said they've had really bad mileage out, but I'm sure it's just to do with how you ride them. And you know, we have so many different types of riders. They're all advanced riders, but they're not necessarily all riding exactly the same standard, if you see what I mean. So important for the blood bike group is to have longevity out of the tyre and safety, obviously. So these tyres on the RTP, R1200 RTP, are running at 36 psi in the front, 42 in the back, which is 2.5 and 2.9 in real money. And they give a good ride. I'll be honest with you, the tyres are, you know, a good ride, but tyres are very subjective. I've said this time and time again. You know, people say, oh, you know, I'd never have those tyres on my bike. I don't like the Anarchy 3s. I know people that do, although I must back that up and say that in the dry, an Anarchy 3 tyre is awesome, but put it in the wet and it just leaves me feeling cold and a bit scared because I'm a coward. So the Anarchy 3s are not for me, but I've heard people say, oh, you know, the Anarchy 3 is the only tyre I'll ever have on my bike. I've heard people talk about Pilot road tyres on their Michelin's, I think they are, or Battle Axe tyres. You know, everyone's got their own preference, and that's understandable. We're all human, we're all different, and that's great, isn't it? Because that's what we all like. So for me to say I like these tyres and they're the best tyre you'll ever buy would be wrong. What I will say is the tyre, for the short period I rode it today and for the period I rode it yesterday in some pretty horrible grubby conditions, because it was at some points it was below zero. We did have the residual hail and snow that was left over from a couple of days previously, and it performed adequately well, so I was very happy with that. Oh my word. There you go. People who just ignore road traffic signs. So somebody also wrote a review saying, I think it was on the Dunlop website, I can't remember now, saying that the tyres took a long time to warm up. Well, I'm thinking, I don't know how hot your tyres have to be. I mean, I thought that was the sort of thing that Valentino Rossi worried about. Certainly not me, my style of riding. I wouldn't have thought, but you know, they say that the tyres don't warm up. I think more often than not it's to do with how much acceleration people put into the tyre when they've just got on the bikes and they're not necessarily used to it. But I'm doing 30 miles an hour just through town here, through Perranporth, and you know, if you keep the revs at a constant 30 round the bends, you know, these tyres are great. They're you can feel them gripping, and obviously as you increase your acceleration on a bend, that pushes the bike down onto the tarmac anyway, and so that increases your grip, which is something that people don't really understand, and it's never explained by people doing their direct access courses. You know, frustrated to see a guy made a comment on our video a couple of weeks ago saying how frightened he was riding in the rain. Well, because he didn't think the tyres were good enough. Well, you know, the tyres are awesome in the rain. Most tyres anyway, as I constantly bang on about. But these tyres, I like them. So we're up to speed quite quickly. Roads are horrible. No worries about grip there. Hopefully I'll be able to get past this bloke and then tag on a little bit. If I'm lucky, and I'm not going to be, I can see. Too much traffic. So it probably doesn't do the video justice. The bends I've just come round are quite tight, uphill. You can see the roads are greasy, and they're very well worn in the tyre ruts where, you know, vehicles use it constantly. And in wet weather you sort of typically stay to the centre of the road where all the grip is. And I might just get past matey here now. There you go. Okay, so that would be the place to be, in the centre of the road for your best grip in poor conditions like this. But unfortunately that's where all the crud has dropped off the tractors and things, and that's where a lot of the mud is. So it's a very fine balance and a compromise always to find the best grip. But these tyres, I have to say, are grippy. They certainly feel they're doing the job properly, and with those massive grooves that are in it, and it's not about the depth of the tread, it's the way the groove is shaped. It looks like it will disperse water away from the centre of the tyre, which is what you want in the wet anyway. And at one point yesterday I was in the rain, it was cold rain, and there was quite a big rooster tail coming off the back of the bike, bigger than normal. So I would say that these tyres are very good at getting rid of water. What I'm doing now is coming down to a place called Goonavon, and once I get to the other side of it, it's just a little series of bends I want to go through, and that'll be pretty much the end of the video then, because we'll demonstrate the tyres up at a bit of speed in situations where the road is wet, and always is wet there, because the fields drain out across it. So we'll be able to give a pretty good indication of how the tyres are going to perform. Little bloke there, a little bit frightened, coming to a roundabout and not even looking. Okay, so we're just on this road now. And you can see that it is starting to rain quite a bit, which is good for a tyre review, I think. You know my thoughts on reviewing in the bad weather, not doing it in Morocco. So the tyres are, I would imagine, built like most tyres are now, with a harder compound in the centre for better mileage and a softer compound on the edges for grip in bends, which I'm just going to demonstrate if I can. You see all the mud in the centre of the road here now, and the rain is now really hoofing down, which is excellent. We're just coming up to a speed change here where we get into this series of bends, and we're off. Straight away into mud, straight away into water across the road. I'm up to 50 miles an hour, which is the speed limit here. Not backing off the throttle at all. Good tight corner that to maintain 50 around. Now this bend here has water coming across it from the right, and it's got compounded with mud as well. Still doing the same sort of speed, 50 miles an hour. I'm very happy with that. Do you know, if I was going to say a tyre was confidence inspiring, I would say this was it. for this particular type of bike. So if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. There's my thumb. And if you like all our videos, we do lots of different subjects, subscribe to us. It's very difficult to get out on bikes at the moment with all the current tier restrictions because of COVID-19, but we're trying our best. We did have some planned, but they're all cancelled again. But we will get out on bikes, honestly. I've got another set of road tyres to do on a different blood bike called Dunlop Mutants, which are apparently getting good reviews. So give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video at some point.